anymore. My lack of post-trauma is going to stop me from my future growth. Yes, not anymore. I know I'm powerful. I know I'm overcoming. I know I'm a positive. I know I'm loved. And yes, not anymore. I'm dope. Dedicated to other people's empowerment. I love my dopeness, and so should you.
Welcome, everyone. This is Sheena, better known as the lady behind the mask, and we welcome you today to the Power in Your Voice. And we have Dr. L.T. Graham in the building. How we doing?
Hey, how are you? How's everybody?
It is well. It's well. So, can you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Well, my name is two things. A lot of people know me as Tamika, but I am in my Saul moment. So I am Dr. T. Latoya Graham, and I am a child of God. I'm a servant. I know everyone gets caught up in titles, but my first title is servant. And so that's who I am. In my 9 to 5, I am AGM of a Marriott property, but I'm mom 24 hours a day. I'm daughter, I'm sister, I'm niece, I'm granddaughter, godmother. I am all things to all people.
Absolutely. So, since we started with that, can you tell me why some people know you by Toya Graham and
Yeah.
why we don't use Tamika first?
Yeah, so Tamika is my first name, and everyone knows me by Tamika. I decided when I got back on Facebook, I was having a conversation with my sister, like, hey, I'm T. Latoya Graham. So sometimes when I start acting the new Tamika, Tanisha calls me T. Latoya, but I went through this phase like Saul. So Tamika was Tamika, but the new person who I am now, the new person in Christ, is Dr. T. Latoya Graham. So that's who I
Mm, look at you now. So tell me, what made you get into doing all the magnificent things that you do? Because you're a woman of many hats.
I
How did,
am.
how did we get here?
Well, I've always had a heart for giving. And like most of us, my grandmother raised me. So I was brought up in the church since I was 3. And so ministry was in my blood, just giving, just working in the church, young disciples. I grew up at Bethel Metropolitan Baptist Church here in St. Petersburg, Florida. And so it's like we had church every single day. If it wasn't choir rehearsal, Bible study, young disciples, it was something. And so when I got older, I just veered off, but thank God for train up a child in the way that he should go. And so I've just always had a heart for giving, and my own personal journey has led me to start my nonprofit, which is Felon On My Needs. And it's a program for felons because I am a felon. So my nonprofit was derived just from my own struggles moving about in corporate America, getting places to live with a background, and it was very difficult. And so this was a journey that I embarked for 14 years, and it was difficult. And I come across a couple people, that's like, how did you do it? I have this, and they don't believe that God is God. They don't believe that they can ask God for the impossible. And so once I get to telling my testimony, they're like stuck, like that really happened. And that really happened. Like I have to pull up emails and show them what God has done in my life.
So let's talk about, your testimony because your testimony is your story. So let's talk about your testimony.
Yeah.
Yeah, we getting
So
all into it today.
yeah. Oh yeah. So like I said, my grandmother raised me, and I was just predominantly her and my best friend, who I call my sister Tanisha. I grew up in a very small community here in St. Petersburg, Kokiniki, to some that know, that are listening or watching. And I would go to my mother's house on the weekend. And so my grandmother was very boring. My mother lived in what we would say urban or the projects, and it was fun at my mother's house. And so I just end up meeting people, meeting my children's dad, meeting other people that, even though I've always been the follower in a circle, that I end up following them. And so I just start selling drugs, I started boosting, I started doing anything but what God had for me to do. I had an opportunity to even go to Stetson University here for law, and I didn't. I end up on the other side of the law. And so after I had been robbed, my brother was, Jesus, my brother was actually beaten with a gun in my house. And when I came home and I seen him, that just made me change my life, and like, I gotta do something. And I have 4 children. I have 3 girls and a boy, and my 2 youngest children were at home. And when I got there, he told me how they tried to shoot him and the gun jammed, and he was saying, take me, I'm gonna need some tissue, Tanisha. He was saying, take me, and kill me outside, but don't shoot me in the house with my niece and nephew. And at that time, I was like, this is not my life. I know better. I can do better. And unfortunately, I am the type of person that whatever I put my mind to, whether it's wrong or right, I can do it. And once that situation happened, I just started living so uncomfortable. I was so super paranoid with things that was going on. And so I moved. And one day, God woke me up at 3:00 in the morning, and he gave me 3 locations. He gave me Mobile, Alabama. He gave me Houston, Texas, and he gave me Atlanta. And so I went to Mobile. I didn't like it. I went to Atlanta, and I was there. And so in the midst of me changing, in the midst of me moving, there was some pending charges that myself and my co-defendant, I thought that were done. So I obtained a lawyer. I was thinking I got all of my business straight before I left, and I moved away. And when I moved to Atlanta, they called me back, the court, saying, hey, there's another court date, something else came up. So I came down in December, and I have 3 children that are born in the month of December. So I came down like December 14th, right before my children's birthday, 2 on December 17th and 1 on December 18th. And when I went to court thinking it was just a money issue, I needed to pay the fine, they put me on community control. Oh, wow. And so I said, well, how can I be on community control in a community that I don't even live in? I don't even live in the state. And so I end up having to spend Christmas, spend my birthday in another state here in Florida. And then they granted me what's called an interstate transfer to Georgia. So I go back home, I live my life, and all of a sudden something else comes up. And I'm like, Lord, what is this? And I was like, I'm just not going back. And so for 14 years, I lived with a warrant. And it was so difficult. It was difficult for me to get a job. It was difficult for me to find somewhere to live. And when I first moved there, a friend of mine, I was like, I gotta work, we telling the truth here. So she was like, yeah, we kind of favor, you can work under my name and this, and that. And so I did that for a minute, but then God kept convicting me, saying, you don't trust me. And so one day I went and I applied for a call center position at Wells Fargo. And I only went to do customer service. I knew somebody on the inside, so they were like, you'll be fine. But when I took the placement test, I scored so high that they wanted me for a manager's position. So after I walk around, after I interview, I'm sitting there, they give me this packet and I'm looking at the background. And I'm like, I can't fill this out. It took me like 15 minutes. So I got up, I told the lady, I said, I'm going to come back. I have to think about it. And she was like, no, we really want you. You know, what can we do? Is it money? And I said, no, let me think about it. So I sat down again and then I just cried. And so I got up and I told her, I said, I need to call my pastor. I got to talk to him. I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. And so she asked me, she said, what is it? And I just heard the Holy Spirit say, the truth will set you free. I kept hearing that. So I told her, and she said, what God has for you is for you. So I went outside. I called my Apostle David Pittman. I absolutely love him. And I was like, Dad, I got to fill this out. I don't know what to do. I'm nervous. And he prayed. And, I'm not talking about anybody's other pastor, but I just only know my pastor. And this is a man, when I say he can get a prayer through, I mean, right up past the feet, past the gate, right there where Jesus said. And so he prayed and I still didn't go back. So when I went home, and this was a very tumultuous time in my life. Like I didn't have a car. So I was walking to that job. So I walked home and I'm crying, walking. And when I got into the living room, I just heard the Spirit of the Lord say, walk around. This is your Jericho. So I started to walk around 7 times. And then I went and sat in my bed. And I was just crying like, Lord, please forgive me. And so I felt the Holy Spirit take my hands and do this over my eyes. It was like somebody was holding my hands. And I heard him audibly say that I am a God of systems and that I will go into the system and I will hide your background if you trust me. So the next week, when it was time to go back again, I filled out the paperwork and they told me to come back and I got my badge and I'm still doubting. I'm still /Thomas, right? So I'm sitting in the training room and my last name Graham. So they're calling the Thompsons, the Smith, the Williams, they calling all of these people. And I'm thinking, Lord, they coming to get me. So when the lady called me to come back, she said, I want to show you something. And she took me in her office and I had 6 green checks that I had passed the background. And so from that moment, I started believing that he really can do the impossible, that he can do exceedingly and abundantly above all that we ask for. So I started asking him for the impossible. And every year I kept wanting to take care of it, but it was $11,000, almost $12,000 for me to take care of it. And I couldn't. So I lived 14 years with a warrant. And this situation was my Rachel. And I felt like for 14 years, I was working to get my Rachel, and my Rachel was my freedom. But the reward and the love was coming, and it was my freedom, and it was doors and opportunities on the other side of that, which brings me here. But it was tough. It was tough. When I got to Atlanta, I met this lady who let me rent her house, and I had all of this that I was facing. So me, in my infinite wisdom, I decided to, I did a resume as a rental leasee, as if I was applying for a job. And I did a resume to get the house. And I explained to her, things that I was going through. And these was my children. And when I talked to her, she led me to my apostle. And she said, I want you to talk to my pastor. And I was like, I don't want to talk to your pastor. trying to rent this house. Like, but whatever I need to do. And my kids and I, we were living in a hotel. So I'm like, okay, because I had planned for this. I had $20,000 in cash. I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. And then everything went another way. So at this point, I'm desperate. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go talk to the pastor. So I go to him and I have on a shirt and some shorts. I'm from Florida, so I had Florida shorts on. And when I sat there to talk to him, it was like he was looking directly through me. And I just, I'm sorry, Jesus. Like and I just told him everything. And I tell you that I could not have made this journey without him, because I had to tell him the truth in order for him to pray for me, in order for him to really be my covering. He had to cover everything. And it was just a journey. It was a journey. And if it wasn't for me being in the Last Days Church of God, me being under Apostle David Pittman, I don't even know how I would have made it. Someone asked me today when I was telling them about the podcast, well, how did you do it? And I'm like, I have like 5 guidance tools. One, my first tool was God's grace and mercy. The second tool was Jesus dying on the cross. And I'm so glad that my sins did not, will not, cannot outpower the cross. The third thing was my grandmother who prayed for me. So you know how the old people used to sing that song, somebody pray for me? That was her. And the fourth thing was my pastor, and then my village, my best friend, my children, because they all went through this thing with me, and that's how I made it. So I just this year I took care of it. I walked out. I didn't have to do 1 day in jail. I prayed for the impossible. I said, God, I don't have time for this. And I walked out of there with my village.
Look at you. And look at you now. Like,
yes.
Look, Dr. Graham.
Yes.
Look at Dr. Graham. And a lot of people is still trying to figure out how to get where you are now. And the thing is, like you said, faith.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that faith over fear.
You have to have a support system, because I wish my sister would get on here. It was plenty of nights I would call her, be like, Tanisha, I give up. I can't. What's this? What's that? It's like, and I'm usually encouraging, but sometimes the encourager needs encouraging, but you can do it.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, I have worked for the Department of Labor. I've done so many things, as Paul would say, with this thorn in my flesh. But I really seen God move. And what we have to learn to do is believe that God is a God of miracles. Start asking God to do impossible things. Because I left my job at another Marriott property, and it was just so many things going on there, and I'm like, Lord, lead and guide me. I called my apostle. I'm always calling him, and I'm like, Dad,
you gotta call on the village,
because I don't have time to waste. So I'm trying to get to somebody, and that's where people like drop the ball, because they're so scared that they know everything. But you have to have a village, of people praying for you. And so I talked to my apostle. I called Tanisha. I'm like, I gotta leave this job. I'm about to 187 everybody in here. And so I applied for a position at Hilton, and I really wanted it. I was praying. I was fasting. I was like, oh God, every day that I applied for, it got worse and worse at my job, right? It was so stifling. And here we go with the background check. So I had to do a different kind of background check with them, because the position that I was getting, I had was in charge of like safes and assigning safes to people. So I get the background check. So I call Tanisha and I say, Tanisha, the background check came back. I can't open the email. Will you open it? So I forward it to her. You know, I know people are like their husband is their rib, but like my friend, my sister, she my collarbone. So I'm like, open this
This
email.
email.
So she said, do you want me to read it or do you want me to say it's there? I said, just tell me if it's there. So she say, friend, it's there. I said, Lord have mercy. So I got a anxiety attack. So I wrote this email, this very professional email to Legacy, and I'm naming these companies because if you're in the Atlanta area and you're looking for a job, these are phenomenal companies to work for. So Legacy Ventures, who owns a plethora of hotels, reach out to them. They are a wonderful, wonderful management company. Even though I am not there, this was all God's plan, but they're wonderful. So I emailed Miss Kim and I'm like, I received my background check and thank you so much for the opportunity. I know that this is going to disqualify me and yada yada. I'm just saying all of this stuff, right? So at like 12 o'clock at midnight, look,
Midnight.
at midnight, okay, I get a notification that says my employee file is open. So once I see that, I can't sleep for the rest of the night. So when I get up that morning, I see the email, I open it. And Miss Kim said, wow, your background is extensive. She said, it does not disqualify you from this position. When I tell you, Dr. Shauna, I was on the floor. I emailed her and I said, please call me. And her and I were on the phone and I was crying. She was crying. And I was like, but God. And I said, I prayed and I asked the Lord to hire this Tamika. And thank you so much. And that just was a miracle. And when I got there, I met my GM. Her name is Tawana Boydhood. And you guys follow her on Facebook. She does a lot of wonderful things for women. But this lady, I never seen anyone that I used to say she is GM Runway. Because when I tell she was Couture Hotel every I seen her take off some heels and put on some Converses when we didn't have any lights, but she was just classy. She was humble, the epitome of Black women in power, but humble. And I learned so much in a short time from her. And even though my tenure there was short, she was so intricate in me getting my position. She gave me a letter of recommendation, even after it didn't work out there. So God has put so many people, God has put Naomi's just all in my life. She was a Naomi. My pastor, Belinda Pittman, she was a Naomi. My best friend, Mama, I call her M. Her name is Mila. She is my Naomi. I mean, she pray, and you know she a real mama when you can ask her for large sums of money and she help you out. Pay her back because I'll never know when I'm gonna need her. But
Right.
she was one of my Naomis, and I just thank God for my own mother, Robin, and my auntie. You know, so many wonderful women, and my friends Tanisha and Kat. That just I call, for things. My brothers, my sister-in-law. I just had a wonderful village. When I was walking out of the court, I had my brother Jabo, my sister Andrea, Tanisha was there, my daughter was there, my aunt was there. You gotta have a village.
Correct. So what do you feel you learned about yourself during this process?
I learned that I can wait. I am not a person that anybody knows me. I don't wait. I don't take no for an answer. And I always have a plan M, available. But in this situation, I had to wait on God.
Correct.
No matter what I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it, I had to wait. And I mean, I had to WAIT, but then I had to WEIGHT. I had to wait. I had to carry my cross. And a lot of times when people are going through, they just want to hurry up and go through. But you have to carry and bear those things. Grace will take some things, but some things you have to carry. And that's what I learned
Absolutely.
during this
So
time.
so tell us about your nonprofit. Let's get into the
Yeah.
nonprofit. So let's talk about how did you decide to create the nonprofit and what made you decide to get into it. I know it's because you became a felon, but what else was your why?
So my brothers, my brother Malcolm did 8 years in prison, who I was just telling you about. That's my baby
Mm-hmm.
brother. And he like my son. I love him. I love all of my brothers, but that one I had like this. And so he did 8 years, and he came home. He got married. He opened businesses. He had a child, and he never looked back. My other brother, Anthony, he is a community activist. He's on the radio. He went to Fed. He never looked back. I myself, I've never looked back. And so it's so easy because society is not built to receive you back. And
Right.
people always are asking, wow, they did 10 years and then turned around and did this and went right back. Nobody chooses to reoffend. Society is not built to receive. And so a lot of people don't want to wait. Obedience is better than sacrifice, but you still have to sacrifice. So what I decided to do, and this is something like I started many, many years ago. If you Google the Charizoma Society, actually before I left, I wanted to create a halfway house for women who were felons with just different type of programs, GED, driver's license, credit, and things like that, but I end up leaving. So I just picked it up from there and put it in here. And so I've started building a network through my friends on Clubhouse, through my Instagram, and like different organizations that I've worked for or came in contact with to help people get jobs. So even if you're in Kalamazoo, Michigan, I know somebody. Even
Okay.
if you're in Cleveland, if you're in East Orange, New Jersey, I know somebody. And so I'm trying to help people ask God for miracles. Let God be God and ask God for things. What really do we mean when we say write the vision and make it plain? So during or in this program, I myself, Tanisha, along with I have two other gentlemen that are going to be life coaches inside of the program as well, where we get to teach people how to connect the subconscious to the creative side and build businesses and just thrive as a felon. Those were things of your past, but God says, behold, all things are new. And so Fell on My Knees, the mission and the vision is to connect people, to show them that all things are new and you can do whatever it is that you want to do.
Listen, now is with your nonprofit. What is your like future goals for it? Like, is it just you know? Are you planning on just having it in one place or just all over the world?
No, I plan on going to Africa. Tanisha and I talked about going to Japan. We won't Fell on My Knees. Listen, we're helping everybody, whomever, and you don't necessarily have to be a felon.
Mhm.
It's Fell on My Needs, NEEDS. So if you've ever found yourself on your needs, then we have a place for you and we can help you. We can help you build a business. If you just need someone to talk to, I will lend my best friend to people
He
for
said, "I'm sharing the
in a
friend.
mentoring
I'm
package that
sharing.
I
I'm sharing
will
the
lend
pad."
her.
She said, "I'm lending." She said, "I'm
Yes,
lending now.
it's
I'm
the lending
lending."
tree.
I say you can
Um,
keep lend.
yes, but we are planning to just do a plethora of things. We are planning, my children and I already embark in feeding the poor. Ministry, people think that you only can do ministry in church, but we really can in the building of church, in the ecclesia, we can say. But how many times was Jesus in the temple? Because my sister next to me is already saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost. So part of this, and 80% of Fell on My Needs is ministry, is feeding the poor, giving clothes. My one of my other really close friends, Kalisha Johnson. Y'all go to Cat Made It on Facebook, Cat Johnson. But she does this thing where she feeds at Thanksgiving. So she and a few of her friends made a big bowl of chili, and I joined them. I was already like doing some stuff that year, and we went downtown Atlanta and we fed the homeless. So not all the time do you have to be in the building. And I know somebody's gonna text me because I know it says forsake not the assembly, but church can have so much red tape, the bureaucracy, and by the time you get to the ministry, you have to get this approval, that approval, go through this, wait for this, and people are still hungry. And I remember our Sunday school, we have a young Sunday school teacher. Her name is Anna. She was teaching and she said there are over 5,000 jobs in the kingdom. And when I tell you, that thing stuck with me. So why am I fighting you for this one position in the church when it's millions of people that don't know God is a miracle worker? They don't know he's Adonai. They don't know that he's Jehovah Sikkenu. They don't know that he's Jehovah Shalom. I'm not fighting you in here, because I have so much work to do out there. And so that's what Fell on My Needs. It is also helping people, but for people who want to help and don't know how to help, don't know which community entity to go to, it's also set for that. So we will be launching October 10th, which is my grandmother, my maternal grandmother's birthday, who's no longer with us. So I am super excited about bringing that to life.
Absolutely. So how do they get involved? Like if they need to donate, to connect with you, if they want to volunteer, what do they need to do?
Yeah, so part of I'm getting some things done. Cat made it. My friend Kalisha is working on some things for me, and so they can inbox me personally right now. But in the next coming weeks, they'll be able to go to my Facebook page. They can email me now at I Fell on My Needs, which is I Felon, and then the word my and needs, NEEDS at gmail.com. Or like I said, Facebook direct message me and we can get things going. Even right now at my job in Tampa, we are collecting clothing to give to a shelter. So we're definitely on the move.
You are, because you actually donated to my back to school
I
program as
did.
well. So
I
shout out
did.
to the nonprofit. She did, she did. So listen, they are everywhere and they're doing a lot. Is there anything else you would like to share about your nonprofit or anything else that you're doing in the near future? Is there any books, any more podcasts? Is anything happening?
There is. So Tanisha and I, we are working on our baby. We have a podcast that will be launching very soon. Double Dose. You guys look out for that. And in regards to a book, it's in the stages.
See, you know
It's
me. I
in the
gotta find
stages.
out the
I
juicy
have been
details with the
I have
author.
so many pages and I got to put everything together. So I think probably next year, because I don't want to overload my plate. I'm still in awe of what God has done for me when he freed me in April. I'm in awe of my graduation. So I want to just relish in grace and not, overload myself. So it's in his
Absolutely.
timing. But I just would also like to leave with everybody: seek after the things of God. Go after God and don't be afraid to ask in the name of Jesus for a miracle, because he can do it. Those with my job, the few testimonies that I told you are just a few of the miracles that the Lord has done for me. He has done so many things. And I encourage everyone, if you do not have a pastor, if you do not have a mentor, please reach out, find somebody. You can even reach out to me. It doesn't have to be me. I have friends. My friend, Pastor Shamiki Hill, she is also in Atlanta, and she has a young ministry that's full of zeal. I will direct you to her. I will direct you to Last Days. My apostle son, Apostle Paul Pittman, has a wonderful ministry. There are so many people that I know in different states, but I'm telling you, get you a covering. Get you somebody who can fast, who is going to pray for you. I have several different people. Prophetess Ramona Wilson, she is one of them. So many people that I am connected to. You've got to get somebody that is living right and who can get a prayer through. I'm telling you, miracles will start to happen because there are people who have a special anointing and they have placement with God. People always say, well, I can pray for myself. Well, let me know how that's working, right? Because everybody may have salvation, but the level of salvation in which whatever they had to get is different. So there are still times where I call my apostle or call on one of my Naomis, get you a covering. And if you have a friend that you can do brunch with, that friend should be able to fast and pray with you as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Girl, you listen, you about to start church in here. But is there any last words that you would like to leave for the people to inspire people that are trying to take those next steps of, taking that felony off or stepping into the faith or needing a coverance?
So the first thing is, again, to seek after God. Now, this may scare some people, but I'm going to pass it along anyway. So my apostle taught me to get a chair and go in the closet and sit down and talk to God. You don't have to have this elaborate prayer, but you can have a conversation with him just like we're having a conversation. And if all you got is a help me, then all you got is a help me. But sit down and ask him to order your steps and ask him. He said that I have pastors, right? That he has pastors after him. So he knows what type of pastor you need. I needed Apostle David Pittman, right? Somebody else may need Jamal Bryant. Somebody else may need, I don't know, whoever, Pastor Keon. But ask him to send you a pastor according to what you need. Or it may not even be a pastor, it may be a mentor. Ask him to send you somebody. Send you a Stephen. And then say, Lord, I need help in these areas. I need a job. But we always like to say, Lord, order my steps. So we can't ask God to order our steps if we don't move our feet. So if you're asking God for a job, you got to go look for one. But
Absolutely.
ask him for peace. Ask him for wisdom. Like, when one quick thing is that we always, like when we say discerning spirits or the spirit, everybody want to call Jezebel. No, no, no. That why do we perpetuate to evilness? Ask for the spirit of the Lord to come in. Ask for the spirit of wisdom, the spirit of counsel, the spirit of revelation to come in. And then ask the Lord to lead you or let someone come to you who can help mentor you along, because you can't make this journey by yourself.
Girl, listen, you done went to church and preached in here, girl. Teach them now. Listen, I need to just have you on a whole show, just have you just teach the people. But because you let everybody know how to connect with you, where to find you,
Yeah.
and how to find you on your website for all that you do?
So right now you can connect with me. I don't mind. I have a public page at T Latoya Graham. If you have questions, you can DM me and I'll be more than happy to answer them. If I cannot answer them, then I certainly can direct you to someone who can. My best friend, she does life coaching. She has a shoe store. She has a tax business, a plethora of things if you're looking for credit repair. My sister-in-law, she is a realtor. You guys visit Andrea Green. She's a part of the Keller Williams portfolio. So if you're looking for a house or have questions about buying a home, just you can inbox me. Again, my friend Kat, she does a whole bunch. She has a trucking business. She can help set you up with trucking. So I know a little bit of everybody. So whatever you need, just inbox me. But please believe we're going to pray first and then I'll send you the information.
Absolutely. I want to thank you, Dr. Tamika Graham, for being here on the Power in Your Voice. Because as always, it's been a pleasure. Anytime you want to come, and like I already told you, bring your sister back. It's definitely,
Yes.
we want to hear about what she's doing. You want to bring Kat on, bring her on. We want to know what she's doing too. Let's get them
Okay.
all through here. You want to bring the
Yes.
apostle, bring them on too. Like we trying to
Right.
get,
Right.
we
Let's
want to get them
pray.
all on
We
here on the
save
Power
it.
in the Voice
Yes.
and save some
Yes.
souls out here. Because with the Power in the Voice, we are here to educate, motivate, and inspire. And that's what this platform is about. And all these people you talking about is all inspiring. I want to hear all about what
They
they
are
got to say
interesting.
too, ma'am.
They
Yes.
are.
Bring in, look, tell them to come on. The
Yes.
doors are, look, the church doors are open for the Power
Yes.
in Your Voice. All
I'm
right.
I'm great because God is great, but I'm great because I have a village. I did
Absolutely.
not do this by myself.
Absolutely. And we thank you for being here in Village. I thank you for guiding her and bringing her to be Dr. Tamika, where I met her about 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Everyone, I thank you as always for watching The Power in Your Voice. I have been your girl, the lady behind the mask, better known as Sheena, or shall I say Dr. Sheena Gadine. You can find me on Facebook as Dr. Sheena Gadine. You can find me on Instagram at the lady behind mask 22, or you can find me on my website at www.sheenaunmastingmotivation.com. If you want to email me, it's sgadine16 at gmail. And everybody, y'all have a great night.
Blessings. Thank you.